Hey, Tom here. I'm just going to talk to you today about Moses and how he went from the palace to the pasture. Sometimes you can't get too hooked up on the way you want to be used in God's kingdom. There's so much God can do with you, but some people put it like a little bit of a block around what God can do, or a little fence around it. Say, God, you can't ever use me there. It's Exodus 3:1. It says, "Now Moses was pasturing the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro. He went out there as he left the palace because he had killed a guy, murder. He thought the Jewish people would be on his side. They weren't. So he got out of there, and he ended up in a desert. And one of the first encounters he had was that God was moving for him because he found somebody to help him water his camels. There was a little bit of commotion. He kind of was the hero, white knight on a shining camel or horse. But there again, God was using Moses' personality to start a new correction in his direction. So it goes on and says, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. So Moses, he went to the right place. He's going into the wilderness, but he's going to the mountain of God. I remember when I first got saved that there was a big draw for me to go to church. I've shared that from the pulpit many a times. But there was a draw for me to come to church, which was foreign to me. But I went to the right place to have an encounter with God. And it happened through VBF. And as Moses was there, he had a new life assignment with a new mentor. He had his father-in-law, our grandfather, as Pharaoh in the Egyptian land. And they raised him up in the way that they thought he should go. And then he broke from that tradition and that pattern. I was brought up a heathen. My brother and I talk about it. My dad wanted nothing to do with religion. And he made it evident in our life. And he did a great job raising two heathen kids. But when I got a new assignment in a new place, I had an encounter with God, and then it changed my life. Moses needed a new mentor from a Pharaoh to a shepherd. His father-in-law was starting to show him the way of being a shepherd, which was going to come in pretty handy. But you got to remember, too, as Moses transitioned, the Egyptians disliked the shepherds. Thought they were the lowliest of low. He went from the top to the bottom. You ever been there? Sometimes you got to go to the bottom to move over to go past where you were. I know in my life I was able to do that. I have a marriage now of 27 years, and the marriage before only lasted 11, but I didn't know God. This one has God at the center of my marriage. I had new mentors. I had Pastor Ron. I had Doug Lohman. So I started my new life in a new country. Sometimes you have to do that to change. You've got to have a change of career, something like that. So that's the transformation, moving out. I'm not saying that you should do it, because you have to hear God speak to you about your circumstances. He definitely brought Moses to the right guy to mentor him. Christ offers different things to every person. He knows how you were made. It says he knew you in your mother's womb. We got to consider worldly things. Simply put, worldly things are those things that are not going to last. Moses had an opportunity to inherit the throne, but it wasn't going to last. You talk about how many kingdoms get changed over in those days. So he needed to exchange that earthly inheritance for a godly inheritance, and that is serving God. Each and every one of us have that choice, that once we give up something that didn't have a value to it, that didn't last. I do funerals all the time. When I do a funeral for a family, they're grieving. A lot of times when I do a believer's family, they're grieving, but they're grieving in such a way of losing their family member. They're going to know that they're going to meet them in eternity, but you're going to miss them here on this earth. So the things that last are those relationships. If you're out there and you have got family members that may not know the Lord yet, I can tell you what prayer works. As I came to the Lord, I prayed, my brother came to the Lord, my mom came to the Lord, then my dad. And then after that, I put my sights on other things. So you got to put things of value on things that are going to last versus that quick, immediate gain. You know that the things that are quickly gained can quickly be lost. Galatians 5:22 says the characters of a new life are being humble, obedient, living in kindness, being honest, forgiving, self-control. These are the things, being loyal, those are the things that are going to benefit you in the long run versus that temporal stuff, which is money or just fake relationships or an idea that doesn't last or have value. There again, here's Tom today. My point 3 is sometimes God will move you from the palace to the pasture.